BKA has been able to direct its support base, which it has mobilized, into the electoral kitty of the BJP.
And the basic concern was conversion of tribal people into Christianity. Some people use Mulwasi and they prefer to use this term, but Adivasi is a very much accepted term in tribal politics, and their basic slogan is "Tu aur main ek rakh."
Hello and welcome to the Federal. Over the last several weeks, we have been presenting to all of you a very special series of interviews, speaking with various scholars and writers on various aspects of the RSS or the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh and its affiliated organizations. This has essentially been to mark the centenary year of the RSS, which, as you all know, was formed in 1925. You know, the tribal community of India comprise about 8.6% of Indian population according to the last census held, which was way back in 2011. We do not yet have the latest figures. Some years back, we got the first tribal president of India, and that too a lady, President Draupadi Murmu. What has been the politics and the way of mobilization of the Sangh Parivar of the tribal community? What is its relationship? How does it define what the tribal community is? Is the tribal community part of Hindu society, or are they something different, having a different kind of faith? These are all very important questions which unfortunately does not get tackled much. So today in this conversation, I am going to be focusing on this completely. And joining me today is a very renowned scholar, Dr. Kamal Nayan Chaubey. Welcome to this program, Dr. Chaubey, or Kamal Bhai, as I would like to refer to you. First of all, a big congratulations for having released this very important book.
Thank you.
Adivasis or Vanvasis, Tribal India and Politics of Hindutva. I think the first question, it would be only very fair for me to start with your title. Vanvasi or Adivasi or Janjati. That is also a title which is, or the description given to the tribal community of India. The RSS has stuck to Vanvasi in the initial period. It's even the organization of the RSS, the affiliated organization, Akhil Bhartiya Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, formed way back in 1952. And thereafter, of course, lying dormant for a long time. Let us try to understand why is it that the Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, that is how we will refer to it in short, has been such a left out organization for study. Why is it that before your book there was actually very little comprehensive study of the Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram and its politics and its movements, various agitations that it may have been part of? Why is it so?
So basically, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to share my views. I'll start with these two terms, Adivasi or Vanvasis, and then I'll come to the later part of your question. When we think about Adivasi, which is a very popular term, and generally in day-to-day languages, common people also use this term, Adivasis. It means that someone who is living on this land from the beginning. And
Son of the soil.
Son of the soil.
The daughter of the soil.
Yeah, and some people use Mulwasi and they prefer to use this term, but Adivasi is a very much accepted term in tribal politics. But the meaning of Adivasi is problematic for Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram or RSS. They are open for Janjati, the term Janjati, or scheduled tribes, but they are not agreed to use this term Adivasi. Their basic argument is that everyone who is living in this particular land, that is India, is Adivasi. So when they are saying everyone, of course, they will put some conditions later, and they will argue that converted people are not part of this, but those who are claiming that they are Hindus, then they are part of this land and they are Adivasis. So claiming by one particular group that only they are Adivasis is actually isolating them from so-called mainstream. And also they want to emphasize on this point that since all of us, all Hindus are Adivasis, then of course those who are living in forest areas are Vanvasis. So they are part of Hindu society. So for them, this term Vanvasi is more attractive. They prefer this term because by using this, they can claim that actually those people who are living in forest areas are part of Hindu society. So they are Vanvasis, and their basic slogan is "Tu aur main ek rakt." You and I have same blood. So actually, this is a message from those who are coming from outside forest areas, or those who are coming for quote unquote mainstream of Hindu society, and they are saying to forest dwelling people or Vanvasis that we have same blood, we have same history, and we need to move together. So this is a positive thing which they want to promote. And the politics is that of course we are not going to promote this separatist idea of Adivasis. The second part of your question is that why there is so less study. So basically I did my PhD on tribal issue, tribal forest land rights in India. And in my PhD work also there was this understanding in academia that actually when you are talking about RSS or when you are talking about their work in forest areas, the only important thing which we should as a researcher remember is that they are trying to make them Hindus, and there is nothing special to study. So this kind of, and I'm actually critiquing that so-called mainstream academic world by propagating this kind of belief in the mind of researchers. But later on I realized that actually there is need to look closely towards its work. So the earlier understanding was that what RSS is doing, it is promoting Hindu values, it is turning them into Hindus, and there is need to criticize it for that. So of course this kind of criticism can be made, but after a thorough study. So I started to work on Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, and actually I found that there are many layers of its works, yes, about which I will tell after some time, so you will ask some other question.
This, I'll go back to this Adivasi and Vanvasi, but culturally, do you not think that the Vanvasi is a problematic term only because of the cultural connotation of this word jungle? It is a swear word in Hindi, which is actually the dominant area where the Sangh Parivar has done work, and the major mobilization of the VKA has been in part of what is called the Hindi speaking areas, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, parts of Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, by and large, you will say that there is a fair presence of Hindustani speaking people, So the word jungli is a kind of a swear word, it's supposed to be somebody who has no culture, somebody who has no education. Did it never be a problem for the RSS to use the term Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram?
Basically, for Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram or for their activist, it is a positive term. And they generally use the story of Ramayana to present this idea that actually Vanvasis helped Sri Ram, and actually they played very important role in all our religious things. So they are presenting it in this form, and then through their work they are not saying that we want you people to live in forest areas only. So they are establishing different kind of hostels in different parts of country, and they are trying to promote some kind of education in for these people. Now the point is that as you mentioned that it could be problematic, okay, for many people, and actually many organizations have critiqued it. So you can find that actually when Prime Minister is addressing a rally, and he is a former RSS pracharak, and his
You're
relationship
talking about the current Prime Minister,
current Prime
Mr.
Minister
Narendra Modi.
Narendra Modi. So we can find that in his address he generally used this term Adivasi. So all politicians from Bharatiya Janata Party, when they are going to ask for votes to tribal people, they use this term Adivasis, and those who are using this term Vanvasis are not questioning this thing. So you cannot find that any Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram leader is critiquing Prime Minister Narendra Modi for using not using Vanvasis and using Adivasis. And the interesting thing is that in before 2024 election, Prime Minister declared a mega program for tribal people. Adivasi Janjati Pradhan Mantri Janman Yojana. There was something, the full title was very long. But the interesting thing is that he used both the term Janjati and Adivasi for this program. So the message was clear that we are also ready to use this term Adivasi. So my point here is that for Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, the philosophical idea of the term Adivasi is problematic. But when their workers, not the workers of Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, but the workers of larger Sangh Parivar, when they go to do some kind of politics and then they are using the term Adivasi, they are not questioning it. And when they are using this term Vanvasis, it means when Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram people are using this term Vanvasis, they are continuously emphasizing on this point that we are using it to present something positive. So we are not excluding anyone, but what we are saying is that those who have been living in forest areas, they should not always live there. They should get modern education, or they should also do something positive related to their culture, okay, but they are part of Hindu society. So for them it is all positive, and they have problem with those Adivasis, or we should say Adivasi leaders, who are actually claiming on this point that we are not Hindus.
I'll come back to you on this issue of the Hinduness of the tribal community. Where does it come from? They not being traditionally what most of us know as being idol worshippers, being some kind of animists, having their own local folk gods, deities are all there in any tribal area that we have gone. We have come across that. We'll talk about this. But before that, a very brief point. When the Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram was established in 1952, to what extent was this driven by the work over the last several decades of Christian missionaries in trying to convert the tribals to Christianity? It happened primarily through their outreach programs like of education and health, providing this, and so also converting them. To what extent was it motivated by that?
Actually, it was the primary reason for the formation of Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram. So Ramakant Deshpande, who formed this organization,
he was part of the RSS.
Yeah, he was part of the RSS. He was very much influenced by Golwalkar. And but the important thing is that he had some support or some encouragement from the leaders of Congress party too. So Ravi Shankar Shukla, who was the Chief Minister of United Provinces in that point of time, he was actually very much concerned with this tendency to say Jai Jharkhand. So he was moving from Jaspur in 1948-49, and then he heard this kind of slogan against himself. Okay, so people were opposing him, but also raised this slogan Jai Jharkhand. So he had two concerns. He and many other Congress leaders had two concerns. One is that it could lead to a demand of separate nation state for Christians, as there was demand for Pakistan earlier. That was one part. The another part was, of course, Ravi Shankar Shukla was a Brahmin, he was a Hindu, and he was not actually appreciating this aspect that tribal people are converting to Christianity. So he actually, and Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram claimed that with the suggestion of Thakkar Bappa, but there is no important or other source which actually validate this kind of claim. But the point is that Ravi Shankar Shukla actually appointed him on a government post in Jaspur. And after 2 years, due to certain reasons, he resigned, and then he formed Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram after some times from this particular area, Jaspur only. So the basic or primary reason was conversion of tribal people to Christianity. And of course, we can find that Golwalkar also criticized that thing in 1940s, but he actually did not take any initiative to form Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram in that point of time. So I would say that actually there was some help from some Congress leaders too, and that created an environment or a basis for the formation of Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram. And the basic concern was conversion of tribal people into Christianity. So he actually started to establish schools in Jaspur area. And in his schools, he, in most of the time, most of the schools were near the Christian missionary schools. And the basic criteria for appointing teacher in that school is that they must be able to resist Christian missionaries physically too. So that was the basic idea, and from there they started their work, and then many other aspects of their work started to emerge. Yeah.
But coming back to what I said that I'll talk to you, are tribals Hindus? What is also this we keep hearing about, you also referred in the book, the Sarna code. So what is it, and what are primarily the tribals? Are they Hindu believers as any other Hindu, or they are somebody who have been Hinduized in the last several decades as part of the VK's outreach to the tribal community?
I would say that there are three categories in tribals. One are of course converted to Christianity. The another belong to certain sects of tribal communities. So they have their own deity, they have their own rituals, they have their own cultural thing. And the third one are they are under the influence of Hinduism, or they claim or they present themselves as Hindus.
We can say that they have been
Hinduized, of course we can say this, and we can also say this thing that actually this is not just the influence of Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram. Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram actually enhanced that process, but it started from centuries back. Okay, due to the civilizational contact with quote unquote mainstream society or caste societies, we can find that, and many sociologists actually argued in that line. Ghurye argued in this particular line that they are backward Hindus. So it was a century long process. VKA actually tried to emphasize on this particular point that actually all tribals are backward Hindus. And they actually took inspiration from Ghurye's writing, and they took him very seriously, and they actually tried to enhance Hindu values in tribal areas. So we can find that when there are communities which are talking about Sarna code, they are, or most of them are not Christians, and they also say that we are not Hindus, so they want their independent identity. But the point is, what is the fear of Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram in Jharkhand area is that most of the tribal communities are close to Hinduism, even if they are not clearly saying that they are Hindus, but their rituals or their influence of Hindu rituals or Hindu culture is so deep on them that they cannot, or no one can say actually that they are not Hindus. So Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram has faith on this particular idea. So their fear is that if there will be a room for Sarna code, then of course it will actually create some problems of Hindu unity within tribals. So they are opposing it. And they also think that once there will be some kind of Sarna code, the work of Christian missionaries would be easier, and they would convert those tribals who are following or claiming to follow Sarna code to Christianity. So they are opposing it. But the important thing is that they are actually ready to accept different kind of tribal communities in other areas, and also in Jharkhand, till they are not claiming that they are different from Hindus. So the interesting thing is that they clearly oppose this idea that tribal or scheduled tribes people would be come under UCC, Uniform Civil Code. So due to their opposition,
They are being kept out.
yeah, and BJP also adopted this
Yes.
particular thing. Amit Shah also emphasized on thing.
Yes, that they are going to be kept out of
yeah.
the UCC.
Yeah, and Uttarakhand government
Uttarakhand
actually left them outside the purview of UCC. So the point is that they're ready to accept diversity, but the point is that diversity should be under the larger umbrella of Hinduism. And when they started to work in northeast areas, they actually emphasized on this idea of Sanatan Dharma. Nowadays we can find that on social media, many people are using this idea of Sanatan Dharma, we are Sanatanis, etc., etc. But in early 1980s, when Ramakant Pandey went to Northeast, many tribal leaders actually claimed or told him that so you also come here to convert us like Christian missionaries. So he argued that no, I am not going to, or we are not going to convert you people into Hinduism. You can live with your separate identity. What we have to remember is that all of us are Sanatanis. Okay, so you can follow your own tradition, your own values, and I'm not going to impose anything on you. But what we have to remember is that we have to oppose a religion which has come from outside. Okay, so for him,
That is Christianity.
or Islam. And for them, the important thing here is that Sanatan means acceptance of larger diversity within Hinduism, and also by not making them Hindus, not claiming that they are Hindus. They are Sanatanis in Northeast. When Ramakant Pandey emphasized on this term, he used it for the purpose of accommodating these groups within the larger umbrella of Sanatan Dharma and to prepare a feeling of opposition against Christian missionaries. So that was the basic thing. But it changed when Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram came into Jharkhand, or when we see its politics in Jharkhand. Basically, and this is my argument, that actually they realized that in Jharkhand, population or tribal population is more Hinduized than Northeast. So here we can claim that they are Hindus than Northeast, and when they are saying something like Sarna code, okay, which they accepted in Northeast, not Sarna code, but their separate identity, they are not ready to accept it in Jharkhand. Why? Because they feel that here there is a conducive environment for the spread of Hinduism, and most of the tribal people are very much influenced by Hindu rituals, Hindu cultural norms, etc., etc.
Now, there is one basic question, that which comes up, that they are Hindus. So there is this caste order in Hinduism, whether we like it or not. It is not going anywhere despite social reform movements. And the fact is that it has not gone out from the instincts of the Sangh Parivar. Even now, there are a large number of people who say that instinctively the RSS is actually a believer in the, the caste system and the Varna system. What is the caste of tribals? If actually somebody asks them, what is their reply?
No, of course they do not fit in, of course, Chaturvarn system or Brahman, Bhumihar, Rajput, Yadav, these kind of categories, but they have their own identities. So someone can say that I'm a Santhali. There are some other categories.
Santhali is a sub-regional identity.
Sub-regional identity, but within that sub-regional identity, all tribal communities have their own name. For example, Gonds. Okay, for example, Banjara in certain areas, not in all areas, they are scheduled tribes. So all these identities are actually promoted by Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, or I would say respected by Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, and they emphasize on promotion of their traditional knowledge or their cultural heritage, and also in a dialogical way imposing, or we should say promoting, Hindu ideals or Hindu idols or Hindu deities in their life. Yeah.
So after the formation in 1952, through the 1950s, 1960s and till 1970s, when the VKA was given a more decisive push when Balasaheb Devras was the Satsang Chalak of the RSS. Till that time, what were the main achievements of the VKA?
So they started certain schools, and they
This was
also
part of the Saraswati Shishu Mandir network or separate?
no, it was separate. It was separate and it was for tribal areas, and it was actually administered, we can say, by Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram. And then they started certain medical facilities in tribal areas. And the another thing which is important part of Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram till now is Shraddha Jagran. They started
Shraddha Jagran.
Shraddha Jagran. They started to conduct some kind of, for example, Ramcharitmanas part or distribution of
Shraddha in English would be devotion.
devotion or faith.
So, we are basically awakening the devotional aspect of an individual. Is that the right way that we would explain to a non-Hindi speaker what is Shraddha
Or
Jagran?
faith awakening or devotion awakening, or in simple words, spread of Hindu religious values in tribal areas.
Okay.
So there were many aspects.
That's quite explicitly
Yeah.
put.
So for example, they took with the help of Maharaja of Jaspur certain tribal people for pilgrimage in Prayag or Allahabad, in Mahakumbh, and certain activities like that, or many other persons like Gita Press chief or honor Hanuman Prasad Poddar and many other came to these areas. They distribute Ramcharitmanas, or they organize some kind of yagna. So all these activities were there. But of course, before 1977, these activities were limited in certain pockets of Jharkhand, certain pockets of present-day Chhattisgarh and Odisha. So they started to spread it after 1977. So there was an important meeting, as you mentioned, Bala Sahab Devras was present there, Ramakant Deshpande was
This
present
was in
there.
1977.
Yes, 78 actually.
78.
78. And then they decided to spread its work in northeast areas and also in new areas which were emerging in tribal areas, new issues. They tried to capture new issues. So from there they started to work on forest rights too. Not exactly in 1978. They started to work formally from 1990 onwards, but there was this
By the
feeling.
mid 80s, they would have, because that is the time when forest rights became a major issue. In fact, the entire environmental movement started with the Silent Valley project in Kerala.
Yes.
Only in the 1980s. Prior to that, there was no environmental consciousness in India. Chipko movement was seen as a very, localized kind of a movement, but gradually from 70s onwards, and in the 80s, it actually fructified into a major, consciousness that any development project cannot be taken up without taking into consideration the environmental considerations. That is something very important.
And also to protect the rights of tribal people. That is an important aspect.
Forest
of that.
rights, that
Forest
is-
rights. So basically, I also I have tried to argue in this book that we can find one important aspect of Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram is its openness to accept emerging issues in tribal areas. So we can find, when we study the history of the emerging consciousness of tribal people related to the issue of development, related to the issue of forest rights, we can find that actually leaned organization or left organizations worked in these areas. Okay, they actually started to raise these questions. They actually started to mobilize tribal people. But we can find that Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram leadership also realized this particular thing, that actually these issues are not now very important in tribal areas. So they also started to support the proper implementation of PESA, proper implementation of FRA. In fact, they supported the enactment of Forest Rights Act in 2006. And then we can find that gradually they started to play an important role after the formation of Narendra Modi government, in the sense that they opposed many negative amendments in Forest Rights Act. And they successfully, actually, at some times they successfully opposed those things. and they actually prepared a vision document in 2015.
Yes.
And in that vision document too, they actually, and I mentioned in this book too, that when we read that vision document, we actually cannot separate that whether it is a vision document of any left tribal organization.
Yes,
or
you refer
Vanvasi
to the
Kalyan
All
Ashram.
India Union of Forest Working People, you know, and the organization which is broadly speaking of the left of center or that left, you know, they couldn't really differentiate. You know, 1980s, we'll come back to this issue as to how the VK constantly kept on evolving the issues as bigger issues, newer issues as they were emerging. 1980s is the decade of the big churn in Indian politics. It's a decade of the advent of religion directly into electoral politics also. We see a series of developments happening in the 1980s, beginning with the Meenakshipuram mass conversion case, which actually enabled the RSS to project the idea that Hindus are under threat, Hindus are in the process of being outnumbered, people are being converted to other faiths by luring them with a lot of money. It was actually the work of missionaries now coming into the other kind of religions also. That is what was done. And it gave the rise to the RSS to start with the Ekatmata Yagya, then came the Ram Janma Bhoomi movement, Shahbano judgment, which gave an impetus to it, and through the 1980s, and eventually we see the BJP from 2 to 84, 85, you know, that is what the tremendous performance of the BJP in the 1989 elections, you know. To what extent did the VKA play a role in this, and what sections of the tribal community were drawn into the BJP at this time?
So basically, we can find that VKA also tried to support Ram Mandir movement, and they tried to gather the support of Rani Gaidenliu from Northeast, and they also tried to mobilize a certain section of tribal people, those who were actually attracted towards their idea of tu aur main ek rakt, we have same blood and we are same people. So they actually or some of them in secondary sources, I found that I did not found in my interviews such people, but in secondary sources, for example in Nandini Sundar's account, there were many people who actually claimed that actually we participated in the demolition of Babri Masjid. Tribal people actually claimed that thing. So the important thing is that actually in tribal areas we can find that Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram tried to raise two kind of issues, okay, to create some kind of division in tribal society. So one issue was of course the demand of delisting. And
Demand of?
delisting. Okay. And what is the meaning of the demand of delisting? The meaning is that those scheduled tribe people who have converted to some other religion, other than
Christianity or Islam, they should not be given the right to take advantage of the reservation policy,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. So they continuously raise this demand, and they are still raising this demand. And the another thing is which VKA supported, but in both issues it supported indirectly, and I will discuss it after 1 minute. The second issue is of course the issue of conversion. But the thing is that Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram leadership actually it has continuously tried to keep itself away from quote unquote controversial issues. So you can find that in their pamphlet they are talking about delisting. You can find that in their magazine they are talking about the issue of Christian missionaries, but they are not directly involved in Ghar Vapsi movement. They are not directly involved in some kind of violence against Christian missionaries, and they are not mobilizing tribal people for delisting, though they publish articles related to it. So how can we say that they are directly or indirectly related to these issues? So it is interesting that they form separate organization for this particular purpose. I mean, or for the purpose of such issues.
Yes.
So, for example, for the issue of delisting, they formed Janjati Suraksha Manch. And when I studied the leadership of Janjati Suraksha Manch, which was formed in 2005 or 6, I realized that actually all important activists or all important office bearers of Janjati Suraksha Manch came from Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram.
They're all part of the same fraternity.
Same fraternity. Similarly, there was many organization for reconversion. So one organization was Dharm Jagran Manch, which was formed by Prabal Singh Judeo. His father was Dilip Singh Judeo,
Right.
and his grandfather was Pravir Dev Singh Judeo or some other name, but some Judeo who was king
And they have
of
been
Jaspur.
part of the BJP.
And
for some
actually,
time.
his grandfather helped in the formation of Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, and he provided different kind of help to Ramakant Deshpande and his friends. Now, the point is that through this Dharm Jagran Manch, Prabal Singh Judeo tried to convert many tribal people. But we know that Prabal Singh Judeo or his father or his whole family was connected with Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram. And
Right.
actually, Mohan Bhagwat himself went to Jaspur to unveil the statue of his father, Dilip Singh Judeo,
Yes.
who was minister in Atal Bihari
In the
Vajpayee
Vajpayee
government.
That's
And he resigned due to some kind of bribe issue.
Yes, there was in 2007 there had been that cash for votes issue. His name
Yes.
has surfaced in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a particular way of
So
creating
we
some
can
kind
say
of
that to a
polarization.
great extent the VKA has been able to direct its support base which it has mobilized into the electoral kitty of the BJP.
Yes.
It has greatly been. But it has not been able to do it in certain areas like Jharkhand, for instance, where the JM continues, the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha continues to be a separate political entity at times with BJP, but currently now not with BJP.
Yes.
What has been the reason for this?
No, the point here is that when I discussed election related issues to many senior activists of Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, they mentioned that actually we are doing our work, we have nothing to do with election. And one senior activist actually mentioned that we are not supporting any political party. We have
That is a standard disclaimer.
so we have a certain agenda, and if Congress party tomorrow support this particular agenda, of course they will get the vote which will created due to our goodwill. So this kind of argument is coming, but the thing is that they play important role in selection of candidates too. And actually we can find that it is not the case that if they will say that Kamal will be the candidate of this particular constituency, I will get ticket. But of course that will add some kind of weightage. And then their role is more important when they will say that Kamal should not get the ticket. Then of course the BJP local leaders or BJP state leaders or perhaps central leadership will listen this thing more carefully, that why RSS organ or Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram is saying this. So they are playing this particular role in politics. And the second part of your question is related to their inability to actually transfer all kind of
All
votes.
kinds of, the existence of Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, for instance.
Yeah. So the thing is that we can find that due to their work, and of course politics is not a stable thing,
Right.
but we can find that from last many elections in Jharkhand or in other tribal areas, of course in Chhattisgarh, to some extent in Maharashtra or Rajasthan, we can find that actually Bharatiya Janata Party is getting a certain amount of vote. It is not coming like they received like 10% of tribal votes. They are getting like 25 to 30
Yes,
to 35%
fairly
of tribal
significant,
votes.
yeah.
So the point is that there are different voices in tribal areas, and what we have to remember is that Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram is one voice, an important voice, and it has actually ensured certain success for Bharatiya Janata Party in different tribal areas. Okay, but we cannot say that actually now they are only
Completely, they have been able to deliver the tribal community into the electoral kitty of the BJP.
Yes,
Cannot
and
be.
there are other voices too, other narratives too. So we can find
So
that
diversity and pluralism is part of Indian politics.
Yes.
Despite the Bharatiya Janata Party and its other affiliates of the RSS saying that we are essentially a single one nation, one community, one kind of a the consciousness kind of people. That is not the case.
Yes, yes, and of course they are facing very stiff competition in many tribal areas. So a new party, Bharat Adivasi Party, is has emerged actually in Rajasthan, and in Jharkhand. By using all means, they are not able to defeat Jharkhand.
I guess new forces will keep on emerging as aspirations may not get met all the time by the BJP. So people from the tribal community may constantly keep on be on the lookout for other parties which can actually fulfill their aspirations much better. Thank you, Kamal Nayan Chaubey. You have actually explained, very succinctly and going through various layers of the VKA and the role it has played in strengthening the electoral presence of the BJP and of the entire Sangh Parivar, working across all sectors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
As I said, the Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram has been a very shadowy organization, and in today's conversation we were able to shed considerable light on it. I am sure that in the coming years you will see more role of the VKA in Indian politics, and then you will be able to understand the VKA and the kind of work that they're doing much better, primarily because of watching this program and to our guest Kamal Nayan Chaubey. Thank you very much for watching this program.